Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Rolfe Pancreatic Cancer Foundation's Wellness Wednesday, where experts share insights on topics that are important to pancreatic cancer patients, survivors, and caretakers. I'm Angela Horn, and I will be moderating today's session with Christine Rosandich from the Cancer Support Center as we discuss food and nutrition trends for 2025. Before we dive in, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Rolfe Pancreatic Cancer Foundation. We're a Chicago-based research foundation that funds early detection pancreatic cancer research at some of the nation's top institutions. We connect patients and families with medical experts, personalized resources, and education. And we raise awareness to heighten the public's understanding of the disease, its symptoms, and its risk factors. We host fundraising and awareness events throughout the year and also conduct quarterly Wellness Wednesday programs to bring a range of engaging topics to our pancreatic cancer community. This year, we have several upcoming events that we are so excited to share. First up is our 15th annual Dash for Detection 5K walk run happening at Montrose Harbor in Chicago on June 7th. Registration is live at dashfordetection.com, and it's bound to be a wonderful day, honoring loved ones and celebrating our strength in numbers. Later this year, we will host our Drive for Research golf outing on September 8th at Skokie Country Club in partnership with Israel Cancer Research Fund. And on November 20th, our gala, Progress Forward, will take place at Chicago's beautiful venue West. Check out Rolfe's website, rolfefoundation.org, for more information on these events, and be sure to connect with us on social if you haven't already. Christine Rosandich is joining us for her fifth installation of our Wellness Wednesday series titled The Cancer Fighting Diet. If you haven't checked out her previous presentations, don't worry. While they are all centered on nutrition, you don't have to have watched them in order to enjoy today's conversation. And they are all available on Rolfe Foundation's website, YouTube page, as well as our Facebook. Today, Chris will be focusing on the latest food and nutrition trends for 2025 and what she's seeing for them. And we encourage you all to ask questions throughout the session in the comments section below. We'll be saving all questions until the end to make sure we're able to get to as many as possible. If you prefer to submit questions for Chris anonymously, you can email us at info@rolfefoundation.org. That is info@ROLFE foundation.org. Christine is the Nutrition and Wellness Program Manager at the Cancer Support Center. She has a master's degree in health and nutrition education from Hawthorne University and holds additional certifications, including plant-based nutrition from Cornell University and nutrition and cancer from Arizona Center for Integrative Medicine. Chris's passion is to work with people, including those with cancer, to help them develop a foundation for optimal health. Chris, it is wonderful to have you back. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, Angela. I'm so happy to be back. And I loved our conversations in the past about an anti-cancer fighting diet. Today's discussion, I think I'm even more excited about. This is the type of discussion that you have to decide what's exciting you, what you feel interested in. Is there some awareness going on in terms of your health and wellness? And that will prompt you to maybe learn a little bit more, to decide what, would you like to learn a little bit more in terms of the bullet points that we're going to go over today. So I'm just getting my PowerPoint all started for us. And again, I am thrilled to be here. I have been with the Cancer Support Center for 18 years, and I'm just going to take one moment to share what our cancer center is. We have worked with your Pancreatic Cancer Foundation for a long time now. We partner trying to help navigate support for a cancer patient or a loved one, family member. So we really have 5 pillars, and whether it's counseling, fitness, nutrition, education, or body image, in terms of possibly getting a free wig, we offer that all free of charge. We are located in the south suburbs of Chicago, Homewood and Mokina, so you're welcome to just look us up on the web, call our office if you have any questions for us. And then I always want to share the disclaimer that I'm not a healthcare professional. I'm a nutrition educator, and this information you would want to get a second opinion or run this by your medical professional. So again, I am really excited about this topic, food and nutrition trends for 2025. Um, I'm going to share information for each one. Some I have a little bit more information than others. Like I had mentioned, if there is a bullet point, a trend that you would like to learn more about, this would be the opportunity if you're taking notes to think, okay, maybe I need to get a book, maybe write um, uh, some articles online, just learn a little bit more because our bodies are all mind, body, and spirit. We're all one. We're connected. It's amazing how some of these integrative, alternative, outside the box kind of thought processes can really be beneficial. Of course, it's all about our doctors and treatment, but there are some things that we can do to come alongside that healing process. So we're going to start with setting intentions, hydration, simple strategies for focusing on gut health. We've talked a lot about gut health in the past, but because 80% of our immune system, I'd say 70 to 80% of our immune system resides in our gut, it really is imperative that we focus in that area. High protein snacks, brain food, no added sugar, mocktails, movement, intermittent fasting, and quality of life strategies. So I'm going to start with setting intentions. The reason I love the word intention is because what it refers to. It really is about a commitment to yourself, something to be rather to achieve. Intent is what you mean to do, the motivation, purpose, aim. If you take time to set intentions, you're gaining clarity on where we want to guide our energy without being attached to a certain outcome. Um, I think intentions are really important, as important goals are super important, but I think setting intentions are a little bit lighter. They have a little bit more grace. They're more gentle. And if you're already going through a cancer experience, if you're the caregiver, if life is challenging, which it has been for many of us, just setting an intention is a great idea. One suggestion would be when you wake up in the morning. Sometimes people meditate or they journal or they pray, but setting that intention for the day sometimes helps us to be more aware of healthy lifestyle options. This is one of my favorite concepts. It's written by a gentleman by the name of James Clear, and he wrote the book Atomic Habits. And so he talks about 3 layers of behavior. The reason I love to talk about this is because when you're setting intention, it's not that hard and fast goal. It's a little bit more loosey-goosey, and it gives you, again, provides a little bit of grace if you don't achieve it. If you look at it as a kind of a bullseye, the outer part of the bullseye is outcomes. That's the goals that we're all so used to. But the middle part of the bullseye is more of the processes. He refers to them as systems. And really, it's about the systems that help us maybe change a behavior. And then, of course, thirdly, would be the identity. Is all about what you believe and who you want to become. The example would be if you want to exercise more. So, exercising more, your goal would be I want to exercise 3 times a week for 20 minutes a day. I want to walk outside or inside. So you set your goal and it's timely. But the processes or the system, now you have to maybe perhaps purchase a pair of tennis shoes, join a facility where you can walk, find a walking path. But it's the systems that really help us achieve our intention. And then, of course, by doing this, we would say, I'm a walker. I'm proud to be a walker. I want to be a walker for 2025. You're declaring what you want to achieve. So Something interesting, if you want to read more about Atomic Habits from James Clear, you can see a lot of free webinars online. Next is hydration. Oh my gosh, I think we know a lot about hydration, but I wanted to include this slide because it really is a wonderful reminder how important water is to our brain in terms of blood flow, our heart, bones, muscles, liver, and kidneys. And I know that everyone talks about drinking more water, but it's imperative that we kind of embrace the idea that water is really, it makes up about 70% of our body weight. Every cell, tissue, and organ in our bodies need water to work properly. It keeps your temperature normal, lubricates and cushions joints, protects sensitive tissues. I think what's really interesting is water can help our fatigue concern. Many times going through a cancer diagnosis, we're tired. If you're a caregiver, you're tired. Just by simply drinking more water can make all the difference. I like to use the example of if you're going to get in your car, you're walking through a parking lot, takes, just a few minutes, no problem. But if that parking lot, if it was covered with mud, thick, I mean, a foot worth of mud, now every single step is harder, and takes more energy to get to your car. And that's pretty much what we're doing if our body is dehydrated. So drinking water every single day helps with our energy level. It helps with sleep, helps with bowel function. It's imperative. So how much should we really be drinking? First, we want to recognize, are we drinking enough? So if you're frequently urinating, if you really don't have a thirst, a lot of times if we're licking our lips and we feel thirsty, we're already dehydrated. Um, our energy level is low. Remember, dehydration, like I mentioned, reduces blood volume, diminishes oxygen and nutrient delivered to tissues. This can result in fatigue to the body, okay? And then, of course, the urine color. By the middle part or end of the day, you want that urine color to be really light yellow. And so the U.S. National Academic of Sciences, Academics for Sciences, recommends at least 15 cups for men, 11 cups for women. Now that's fairly, um, that's aggressive. That's a lot of water. If you're if you're sitting there and you're listening and you're thinking, I don't really even drink a lot of water, just start with maybe 6 glasses, 6 big glasses. And one of my favorite things to do is I love to have a mason jar or some kind of big container. And so knowing that this is more than 8 ounces, it's probably 16 ounces, I just have to fill this 3, 4, 5 times a day, depending on my energy level and my needs for that day. So part of a healthy gut is absolutely drinking water. I mean, that is imperative. But if we go to our third bullet point, benefits of a healthy gut, and we've talked about this in the past. And if you're sitting there thinking, I'd love to learn more about gut health, my immune system, then some of the previous programs you might enjoy. But for today, we're going to talk about a healthy gut. It impacts the entire body, um, providing all day energy, balancing hormones, improved digestion, clearer skin, mental clarity. Many of the benefits that we receive from drinking water, these are some of the benefits if we have a healthy gut as well. Easier to lose weight. Our immune system is a little bit stronger. We might sleep better. So a healthy gut is an area that you may think, okay, I have a lot of bloating. I have a lot of gas. Um, I'm constipated. I have a lot of acid reflux. I have some symptoms and signs that maybe my gut isn't as healthy as it could be. And I would encourage you to read some articles, check out a book from the library, or purchase one online. But a healthy gut is really critical. Simple strategies would be number one, eating whole unprocessed foods. And in the past, we've talked quite a bit about this. When you eat whole unprocessed foods, it not only helps heal your gut, but the opposite, when we're eating processed foods, it really contributes just the opposite of an unhealthy gut. Again, our gut is filled with bacteria, and if the bad bacteria overtakes the good bacteria, now we're going to have symptoms and side effects. And that would be a reason to think, I got to get off of these processed foods. I've got to eat more real foods like eggs in the morning, old-fashioned oatmeal, salads, salmon, chicken, broccoli, real foods that our ancestors ate. Secondly, would be eating fermented foods. And a lot of people either don't eat them or they're not aware of them. In different cultures across the world, fermented foods is a big part of their diet, but not so much here. And we're going to talk a little bit, what are those fermented foods? Again, reducing the processed and sugary foods, drinking water, eating fibrous foods, movement. Movement is really important for gut health, managing stress, restorative sleep, and if we can, avoid unnecessary antibiotics or disinfectants that we use around the home or medications. So what causes digestive illness? It's sometimes not just one thing. It could be that we really are stressed. We're talking about chronic stress every single day. We just feel anxious and agitated, and many times our digestive system isn't working properly because we're just feeling that anxiety. Smoking cigarettes or lack of exercise, movement, even if it's 10, 15 minutes a day, can make all of the difference in terms of digestive wellness. Some of the toxins that we see in the environment, the heavy metals, the fluorides, the bleach, some of the products we use at home, some of the plastics, some of the environmental toxins like pesticides and herbicides on our foods. That goes hand in hand with the quality of the food. And that's why sometimes we do want to buy a better quality product that has good quality fat. Maybe not farm raised fish. We're looking more for wild caught fish, or we're looking for a better quality meat or poultry. It could be genetics, it could be drugs, lack of that fiber we talked about. We're going to talk about low stomach acid in just a moment, but also it could be an infection. And sometimes infections like a COVID can stay in our body longer than we would like. And the whole idea is that we want to make sure that once we're sick, we want to move on and build up that immune system. So one of the most inflammatory foods that we can eat is sugar. And we have talked a lot about sugar, and we're going to talk a little bit about it today. But when we're eating sugary foods, which cause inflammation, that is going to affect our digestive health. And it can lead, not all the time, but it can lead to illness or disease. So what happens when our body is trying to navigate toxins, food allergies, stress, different medications? Sometimes, and if you can see in here, the cells, the three cells together, those are normal cells. And the junctions in between the cells are really tight. That's the lining all the way down from your mouth all the way where we eliminate. So the lining of your digestive tract is super thin. It's actually one cell thin. And when there are triggers, they sometimes can get in between those cells, float into the bloodstream, and cause inflammation. Not only inflammation, but they can breach that blood-brain brain barrier, maybe causing what they consider diabetes 3 dementia, Alzheimer's, but it also is as simple as, but serious, malabsorption. The idea is that when we eat food, we want to make sure that we're absorbing it. And if you have if your cells have been somehow damaged, then that can keep us from absorbing the foods adequately. So insufficiencies, literally digestive enzymes, whether they're pancreatic enzymes or other enzymes, we have them all throughout our digestive tract. What they are is they're natural juices, and they help break down the food. They break down the carbohydrates, fat, and protein. And as we age, they start to wear out. So as you can see, by 50 years old, 50% of our enzymes have worn out. We have enzyme deficiencies, and therefore we're not maybe breaking down the food, absorbing the food adequately. So what we want to do is, if you're noticing some of these symptoms or side effects, a couple of easy solutions would be to take a supplement. It's a enzyme that you simply take an hour before a meal, and it's going to help break down the food. Another really simple solution would be to eat something raw at every meal. Why would we eat something raw at every meal? Because when we prepare the food, that's killing the enzymes. And so if, let's say, we're having salmon roasted on the, in the oven or on the grill, we're having maybe steamed broccoli, but maybe we want to have a coleslaw that we make or a cabbage salad, something with the live enzymes to help our stomachs, our digestive tracts break down the food. So I love talking about probiotic rich foods because some people are not aware of how powerful they are in the healing process. There are books written about the power of probiotic rich foods. And so that would be your sauerkraut, but make sure you get it in the refrigerated section, right? You want all of these foods to somewhere say on the package that there's live culture. That's the idea. They're filled with good quality bacteria. So apple cider vinegar, you could take a tablespoon or two with some water or juice, kombucha, sourdough bread, yogurt, raw cheese, kimchi. So what, if you're not aware of some of these amazing foods, these are some of the pictures to give you a better indication of what they are. One of the rule of thumbs is that you would eat a quarter cup of a fermented food once a day or once every day. But I want to caution you, fermented foods are to heal your gut, to kind of help you eliminate the bad bacteria and gain and grow better bacteria for digestion. And so sometimes that can be a little too harsh for somebody that is not used to eating fermented foods. So a quarter cup every other day, or maybe just, a quarter cup is 3 tablespoons, so maybe just a couple of tablespoons. But here at the bottom is the kombucha. You can buy that at a lot of grocery stores now. Up at the top corner, you're going to see the kimchi, which is very much like sauerkraut, but it's got a lot of spice to it. So, and if you're at an Asian restaurant, ordering miso soup would be a wonderful soup to get in terms of a fermented food. Now, the solution is to eat real whole foods or to eat fermented foods, or you can take a probiotic. Now, this you want to talk with your doctor, especially if you're in treatment, but many times what it does is it supports your immune system, your digestive tract to help take on the treatment that you need. But you want to make sure to talk to your healthcare professional. But these are some brands that you might want to research. Again, you're always welcome to reach out to me and via email, and I can answer any questions for you. But if you notice, most of them say the number billion, 65 billion, 25 billion. So that's the active live culture. 25 billion would be more maintenance, but if you really have digestive concerns, you might consider getting a probiotic with 50, 60 billion active culture. And then you want a probiotic that has a number of different strains. So hence you see 65 strains, 10 strains, 22 strains. So it's all about the live culture and the strains. Uh, a wonderful, wonderful way to help heal your gut lining. Another wonderful way to heal your gut lining and to build your immune system is bone broth, which is a fermented food as well. And you can get that in a protein powder, collagen powder. You would just put this in a shaker bottle of water, or you could put it in a smoothie. You can even put it in coffee or hot tea. So and one of my favorite things, I won't spend any time on it, but I do want to mention super greens. Super greens are dehydrated greens that they flash freeze. These amazing greens that we're not usually getting in our diet, but a great way to build immune function and help heal your gut. So I think we have to remember that it's not only you are what you eat, but you are what you digest, and that's what can help with focusing on digestive wellness. So one of the other trends for 2025 is healthy protein snacks. And one of the ways to get to make your protein snack, and I do have some sweet treats here because a lot of us do like sweet treats, but we can add flaxseed. So the bottom corner, you can see that 2 tablespoons of flaxseed. Now you want to grind that to take advantage of the omega-3 fatty acids, but that adds 3 grams of protein, whether you're adding that. So this one pudding is avocado pudding. And then adding flaxseed to it would be amazing. You could add walnuts to it, flax seeds to your cookies, any kind of yogurt, or if you're making these dried fruit and nut balls, another great way. So thinking about protein, we want to eat, gosh, 25, 30 grams of protein at every meal. It's a building block. We're not going to talk about protein, but protein is really essential. And now that's not for everybody. We have to look at everybody individually. But looking at protein post-surgery, going through treatment, really important. So you can avocado, maybe cottage cheese and peaches, handful of nuts. There's so many good ways to get protein in. And these are just some of my favorite because we really shouldn't be having a lot of donuts and cookies, store-bought cookies and all that. But we could cut up an apple, chop up some nuts, even drizzle a little, chocolate or caramel. So you can find creative ways to get in some of this wonderful sweetness that we're looking for. These are flourless brownies that are made with walnuts and dates. They're fabulous. So little healthier treats. Brain health is critical. We all really value brain health, and it really is about the diet. It's really about eating foods that are high in good quality fat, like avocados, walnuts, fatty fish, good quality free range eggs, right? What the animal eats is what we're going to be eating. So brain, better cognitive health, it all is about the food, exercise, good restorative sleep, water, but these really good quality fats like coconut oil, olive oil, and such. Brain food is, just rich in antioxidants, these healthy fats like we talked about. How exactly do healthy foods for brain function aid in mental health? One way, and the reason I put this in the slide, is by supporting gut function, and that helps reduce the inflammation. So it all is really connected. A number of important hormones and neurotransmitters are created in the gut, and it's funny because it just all keeps going back around everything helps um, in terms of lifestyle changes and better health. So again, these are just some of the pictures of some of the healthy brain food. So let's just talk just for a minute about sugar. I think we know that it's not really good for us, even though we love it. So what we have to do is think about how much sugar we're eating. Okay, I'm going to skip this slide for a second. The recommendation is that women don't eat any more than 6 teaspoons a day, and a teaspoon is 4 grams. So that would be about 6 times 4 is about 24 grams for women. Men, 9 teaspoons. So that would be 9 times 4 is 36. Children, it's 6 teaspoons. So when we're looking, I'm going to go back to this slide. When we're looking at a nutrition facts label, a couple of years ago, they broke it down, total sugars and added sugar. So you want to look at both numbers, but when they talk about added sugar, that's usually the negative sugar. That's any sugar that they're going to add in there, like table sugar, high fructose corn syrup, any kind of added sugar. So you want to make sure that in a day, if you can stay below 26 grams for women, about 40 for men, then, and you're eating a lot of healthy foods, we're really doing a great job. And just to touch on, artificial sugars are so much sweeter than regular sugar that when we have a tendency to drink artificial sweeteners in our beverages, in our coffee, our taste buds almost become hijacked. We are desensitized at how sweet it is. So when we go to eat an apple or we go to drizzle just a little bit of maple syrup maybe on our oatmeal, we just feel like, ooh, this isn't sweet enough. So staying totally clear of artificial sweeteners would be wonderful. That would be maybe an intention that for the rest of the year, you're just not going to do artificial sweeteners. And if something says, you know, sugar-free, there's no sugar added, it's usually artificial sweeteners are in there, causing a lot of illness. But here's the good news. There are alternatives now. So this is actually my son bought this and I had a chance to just try it last week. So it's a prebiotic drink and it's just 5 grams of sugar. So there were a total of 5 grams of sugar, 3 were added. So that means 2 of the grams were maybe the berry or somehow they have some kind of fruit in there. But can you imagine, because the alternative is 40 grams of sugar, right? 10 cubes, 10 times 4 grams. So each cube is a teaspoon. 10 times 4 is 40 grams of sugar. So look at this nice alternative. So if you really love soda, the coloring, all of it, it's not good for us, but this could be a way for you to start to get off of the regular soda that is just infused with sugar. Now, let's just talk about alcohol for a moment. And I'm going to be really gentle. There are some of us that appreciate an alcoholic beverage, some of us that don't drink at all. But I think that there's some question about surrounding alcohol. So I thought I would add it to this presentation. It is a hot trend for 2025. Actually, mocktails are a big deal. A lot of restaurants you go to sells mocktails, which are alcohol free. So the science behind the alcohol, I want to introduce you to this source, Dr. Mark Hyman. If you have not heard, there's many, many resources that are amazing. But Dr. Mark Hyman has a wonderful podcast online. He's a doctor. He's been in the industry for years and years, decades actually. And he has a lot of podcasts, a lot of free podcasts. And so if you want to learn more about the science behind alcohol, then go ahead and maybe look to what he has to say. But alcohol provides no health benefits. I mean, in the past they said resveratrol and you can get some health benefits if you drink red wine, but really, no. It really, especially for cancer patients, there's way too much research to support that actually drinking alcohol can impact cancer, cause cancer reoccurrence. Of course, more science needs to be done with that. But really, the best practice is abstaining, but if you enjoy an alcoholic beverage every so often, just having a drink or two per week, just occasionally, is really the best suggestion. So we know that alcohol is a neurotoxin, a substance that alters the structure of function of the nervous system. Okay. We know that it's a psychoactive substance, which is a chemical when taken, alters your brain function and results in changes in perception, mood, consciousness. We know there's a lot of research, but down below the IARC, the International Agency for Research for Cancer, has classified alcohol. This is really important as a group 1 carcinogen, along with asbestos, radiation, and tobacco. Oh my gosh, when I read that, I thought, really shocking, actually. So even light to moderate consumption of alcohol has consequences. What it's doing is it's just raising the toxicity of our body. So I'm just going to give you some suggestions, but the effects of alcohol, one of the effects is these congeners, byproducts of alcohol fermentation. They contribute to the taste and the smell of alcoholic beverages. I'm trying to go a little bit quick because I don't want to run out of time, and I apologize for that. But I wanted to provide you with all this information, so I'm talking a little bit quick. So I'm becoming tongue-tied. But what happens is these offer a benefit for the taste and smell, such as tannins, found in higher concentration in darker liquor, whiskey, red wine, and bourbon. These byproducts hang around long after the alcohol is gone. So they can produce a worse hangover, including an increase of stress hormones, inflammatory response, and causing a histamine response. So an alternative would be a lighter alcohol like vodka, gin, white wine, or even white tequila. Not that I'm promoting that, not that I'm recommending that. Most year, again, we want to stay clear of as much alcohol as possible, but this is just an option. And then, of course, maybe buying a top shelf alcohol can minimize some of the side effects. So some of the suggestions, and I thought these were so helpful, Dr. Hyman's podcast, only have 1 drink per hour. So that's an ounce of hard liquor, 5 ounces of wine, or 10 ounces of beer. It really is about trying to drink as slow as possible, making sure that we're drinking a glass of water or 2 in between a glass of alcohol if you're choosing to drink. Avoid sugary mixers, stay hydrated. You might not only drink water, but maybe a sugar-free electrolyte packet. Go ahead. You could put those in your purse, carry those with you. I'm going to show you a slide on that in just a second. You definitely want to eat food. Food slows down the absorption of alcohol. Okay. So, and take some supplements. Cofactors such as zinc or niacin, which is B3, support enzyme function, helping to avoid this, some of the side effects of drinking alcohol. But there are so many non-alcoholic beverages. They're becoming so popular. And these were just 3 options that I've heard people like: Oddbird, Heineken, and there is even a type of bourbon. I think that's bourbon. I actually don't know. I don't drink that. But there are so many options. And a lot of times what we're looking for is we're at a party, a social event, put a carbonated beverage in a beautiful glass of a wine glass. and with a lime or lemon or blueberries or whatever. And so many times it's just holding the glass, being social. It's not that we need the alcohol. You just want to kind of have fun with it. Um, and so I'm not going to go through all of this with you, um, but it just alcohol affects our hormones like estrogen, which act like messengers telling our cells to grow and divide. The more cells that divide, the more chances there are for something to go wrong, and maybe for cancer to develop. And of course, we know it reduces nutrient absorption. So there's just a lot of research behind it. We want to just be really super mindful and aware of how much we're drinking and and how quickly. These are a couple of the electrolyte drink mixes. Uh, Coconut water is just a natural electrolyte. It's pretty cool. So it's that sodium, potassium, and magnesium mix. So you can just keep that at the house and just even drink just even a half a can. And this was the last point I wanted to make in terms of alcohol. For some of us, why are we drinking? And I think it's just important to ask that question. Well, we're getting that dopamine hit, right? Which is a naturally occurring chemical in the brain. It's that pleasure center of the brain that says, "Ooh, I'm feeling good." But we can get that feeling in other ways. In terms of food, it could be dark chocolate, nuts, coffee, protein, but also taking a walk, calling a friend, journaling, watching a great show. And I just wanted to share this with you. There's research done that really, if you have the idea that you want to have a drink, if you could wait 5 minutes, many times that thought passes. Most of that pleasure center of the brain lights up just thinking about it, not so much doing it. They say that a gambler doesn't actually get as excited about gambling when he's gambling. It's when he's thinking about gambling. So it's the same thing. Just even with sweet treats, just kind of walk away. And in 5 minutes, a lot of times that thought will just pass. And I just have a couple more of the trends for 2025 would be movement. Um, oh my gosh, movement for fun, to get out in nature, to stretch, which is really, really important to do, peace of mind and improve heart health. So I love this little quote here. I'm just going to move my thing. Exercise not only changes your body, it changes your mind, your attitude, and your mood. And for many, many times throughout the week, I need to exercise just so that I have a positive outlook and I'm a little bit more upbeat because life can be hard, right? Intermittent fasting is something that's become really popular, but it's simple. It really is an eating plan that switches between fasting and eating. That's all it is. So the most popular one is stop eating in the evening, let's say 6 or 7 at night, and now you're not going to eat anything until you break the fast for breakfast. And that could be 8, 9, 10 in the morning. And so some of the research shows that intermittent fasting is a way to manage your weight and prevent or even reverse some forms of disease. It's that powerful. There are several different ways to intermittent fast, like we talked about. But what happens going hours without food, the body exhausts its sugar store and starts burning fat. This is referred to as metabolic switching. So 50 years ago, I don't think we had this concern because our portions were smaller. More people worked outside of the home, whether it was gardening or, growing our own food. Children played outside. We all received more exercise. So now we're more sedentary. We're in front of a computer, in front of a TV. So this is really a really interesting concept that you might want to think about. I want to just share one more real positive benefit for intermittent fasting is if you're a person with heartburn or acid reflux, stop eating at 6 or 7 at night will really help because we don't want to go to bed with a full stomach and have our digestive tract focus on digestion. We want our body to focus on healing, but we also don't want, to be interrupted with excess food, having to digest that. Quality of life strategies, I think we think a lot about them, and this is where I would encourage you to incorporate one a week, one every couple weeks, one a month, but to examine, do I have good quality sleep? Um, what about meditation, prayer, quiet time? I mean, is that something I'd like to incorporate? A restorative bath, putting in a little bit of Epsom salt, which is magnesium. Maybe that's your time for self-care. Dry brushing is wonderful for the lymphatic system. Reading, exercise. So these quality of life strategies are they're so wonderful. They can bring us such joy. We feel like we are taking care of ourselves, even if we're taking care of other people. Um, it can kind of help fill our own cup, so we're better at helping others. But it takes being mindful of some of these really positive quality of life strategies. This would be one really powerful one, would be a breathing technique. It's called 4-7-8. It's a yoga breathing technique. And you literally breathe in your nose for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7, and you breathe out of your mouth for 8. And you repeat that 4 times. This helps lower blood pressure. This helps with your, just releasing anxiety, helping you to sleep better. Um, a lot of healing properties to just this one technique. You can do it when you're driving. Of course, don't close your eyes. You can do it while you're at the doctor's office if you're feeling really anxious. It's really a powerful tool to incorporate. And that is the new trends for 2025.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chris. Every single time you're on, I always feel that I learn so much. It's so wonderful. So we will now open up for questions. Several have already come through, but if you have additional questions, please do continue to ask them in the chat. If you don't feel comfortable doing so in the chat, you can email us at info@rolfefoundation.org. As always, this is a reminder that our Wellness Wednesday presentations are strictly educational and not to be interpreted as medical advice. Please seek out your trusted medical team for issues related to your specific health situation. Also, we know that there have been people who have joined us a little later in the conversation or perhaps just need more details about something you've already covered. So we appreciate your patience and understanding in advance, Chris, if some of these questions are a repetition or it's an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper in. So, oh my goodness, you cover such wonderful topics, and also so much was covered in today's presentations that we definitely have sort of questions on all of it. I'd like to start sort of with like cancer focused or chemo focused, patient focused kind of questions as a theme to just sort of kick us off here. So we had a question that came in that said, while on chemo, I have no appetite. What do you suggest to still get enough nutritional benefits without having to eat too much during treatments?
That's a great question, and a lot of cancer patients lose their appetite. A couple of suggestions would be if you're going to eat, make sure it's nutritious foods, like maybe protein-rich foods, good quality fat. But you have to do what you can do because it's so sometimes it's so difficult. So be gentle with yourself. Maybe utilize a really small plate so you don't feel overwhelmed. Small bites. Maybe remember a quarter cup is just 3 tablespoons. So that might just be maybe 2 tablespoons of cottage cheese, and then you put it back in the refrigerator for later. Smaller meals, maybe 5 or 6 smaller meals. And then if you are okay with drinking, sometimes people can drink easier than eat. Maybe make a healing smoothie that you've got maybe protein powder in there, flax seeds, some vegetables, fruit. But knowing that there'll be a day that you're off chemo and your appetite will increase, so there's hope for that. Just be patient with yourself.
That is so true. I hadn't thought about the idea of utilizing a small plate. I had heard that in the context of, overall like dieting, but especially as a tool, not so that way you feel less pressure, or it can just feel more manageable where you don't have all this empty space on a plate. That's so,
Yeah.
I can see how that can be so
Well, and
impactful.
Angela, so if you're going through a cancer treatment and you've got loved ones, perhaps you asked for something. Let's say you asked for oatmeal, and then they bring you the oatmeal. But then by the time you get it, you don't want oatmeal. You've lost your appetite. You barely can even tolerate the smell. And so just being open and honest with your caregivers, especially if people from the community or your church are bringing in food, just be really open. They want to help, but let them know small amounts. Let them know what you're able to eat at this time. And then the last idea is to keep a journal. We're not remembering what we ate 3 days ago. So this way you can keep log of, oh, what really did I eat that tasted good? So that might help the caregiver and yourself.
Yeah. And I could also wonder if the kinds of foods that you're eating could also be helpful with your medical team to say things that have been okay for you to eat and not. Wonderful. So along those lines of with going through chemo, in regards to exercising while going through chemo, what do you suggest for exercise in that situation? How to not feel like you're not doing enough?
Right. I think really you have to be gentle with yourself. I've been here 18 years. As Angela, you've been with your organization for a while. And I just think we have to be really gentle with ourselves. Understand that movement can be very helpful with the digestive tract, with the lymphatic system, helping us sleep at night. Um, but understanding our limitations. So even walking is just so wonderful. You're using those big muscles. You're getting out in nature. This is the time of year where, the weather's getting better. Um, just even earlier today, I went online and was looking at some 15-minute yoga stretches. So there are so many free options that you can just plug in 15, 17-minute yoga stretches. And it doesn't mean that you're laying down. It could be that you're sitting, but it might be designated just for your back and shoulders. Maybe you're really tense. And just by doing a gentle stretch, that really can help.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And even with the body mind connection and all of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Our center, the reason I think we've been so successful for 30 years is one of the services we offer is exercise. And so when you're going through treatment, you don't have to go to your workout facility and be working with people that don't have that diagnosis. You're working with people that have that diagnosis. So look in your area to see if there's a cancer center that that provide these services, or again, online. There's probably
Mhm.
many exercise regimes for cancer patients.
Hmm. And we also will be posting these slides, or your contact information will be made available as well. So if your organization could help or connect you with something that's more local to your area as well.
Mhm.
Okay, can you explain or go into a little more detail? What Talk a little bit more about the pancreatic enzymes, what they
Mhm.
are, and if they can, and how they benefit a patient who takes them.
Yes, so these are these natural juices that are produced in the pancreas. They help break down the food. So the time where somebody's would need them is if you eat and now you're really gassy, or you're doing a lot of burping, or you just feel really, congested. Um, Understanding that maybe you're not breaking down the food. And so we need you to look at your digestive tract. And one of the tools in the toolbox would be to go to a health food store or a Whole Foods, I'm sure even a grocery store, but they sell pancreatic or enzymes. They don't have to be pancreatic enzymes. They could just be enzymes, and they help break down fat, protein, and carbohydrates. So you would take it like a half hour before a meal, and it's just assisting your digestive tract to help break down the food.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned grocery store runs or health store runs. If you're someone starting from square one with a cancer diagnosis and you're trying to make healthier food choices on a budget, what are your first grocery store grabs?
Well, we're heading into the perfect time of year because we got to look at seasonal. So once something, comes out seasonally, let's say blueberries in July, oranges right now, you want to get it on sale, right? Um, if something's on sale and you can freeze it, do so. You can buy fresh fruit or frozen fruit and then throw it in the freezer, right? Um, Free range chicken. If it's on sale, throw it in the freezer. Beans are high in fiber and protein. So when those are on sale, grab those. You want to make sure that your pantry is nicely stocked with nuts and seeds and whole grains like quinoa or brown rice, um, and beans, nuts and seeds, whole grains. So you want your pantry to be filled, and you're filling it when things are on sale.
Great.
But you can, I mean, short of eggs, we still haven't seen the price
I
of
know.
eggs going down, at least in my area. Um, you just have to do the best you can. But a lot of times people think, I'm not really per se questioning them, but they think it's expensive to eat well. But processed foods can be really expensive.
Mhm.
Soda can be really expensive. Eating out can be super expensive. Fast food can be super expensive. So actually, it can be pretty cost effective if we're buying a chicken, or let's say three chicken breasts, and we're putting them in a slow cooker, and now we shred it, and we've got 3, 4, 5, 6 meals, right? So a lot of times it's our thought process, really looking at how are we spending our money.
Yeah. And also getting serious with that meal planning. It can be so daunting.
It can be a little bit daunting, yes. But just
Daunting.
thinking, you know what? Let's just stay with that for just a minute. It's just understanding that eating in and cooking is a hobby, and it was doing so good for our body, right? It's a lifestyle choice that we need to make. But just think ahead. Just be like, okay, what are 2 or 3 proteins I want to make this week? Do I want to make tacos? Do I want to make a roasted chicken? Do I want to make pork chops? What do I want to make? Because it's the protein that takes the time. So think ahead, go to the store, sometimes cooking 2 or 3 things at the same time because it's going to last 5 or 6 days, right? For most foods, most proteins. But then doing a side or making a vegetable, that's easy, right?
Yeah, but with you saying that, if someone is going through treatment and there's a real issue with nausea, do you have any? And they're trying to do these things. They're trying to cook, and all these sort of things and smells and anything. Do you actually have any suggestions on like something that could be maybe not necessarily given by your doctor, but something that helps with nausea? So you can not be so you can go there and you can prep the chicken and things like that and not have to stop what you're doing.
If you're getting nauseous based on the smell of cooking protein, you might not be able to cook protein. You have to decide. Um, for some people, just smelling chicken, ground beef, it's just more than they can bear. So you just have to know that right now you're not going to do that. And you're going to do more whole grains and beans. Remember, a serving of whole grains and beans makes a perfect protein. So, it's plant-based and you don't have to do the meat. Secondly, sometimes if you do the ground, like the ground turkey or the ground chicken, that's just easier. You're not eating as much. You're just taking small bites of protein. It's not like this big old steak sitting in front of you. Okay. But you might just have to ask a loved one to prepare it because if you can't even go there and smell it, I get that. Maybe
Yeah.
soup. Soup is a great thing. But I do want to give you a referral for some of your listeners. One of my favorite resources is called it's written by Rebecca Katz, Katz, and she wrote the Cancer Fighting Cookbook. And it's fabulous. She is an oncology nurse, was an oncology nurse. That might be totally wrong. She's an oncology chef. And her
Okay.
book, if you look on Amazon, um, the front part of the book teaches you why all these ingredients are so important while you're going through a cancer diagnosis. But the back portion, and this is why I'm mentioning it, Angela, is because she's got all of these wonderful elixirs like ginger and mint and ways to make um, different foods to help relieve nausea. So literally you can simmer um, what would that be? Ginger, a root for
Hmm.
like 6 hours, and you come up with maybe an inch or two of paste. You put that in the refrigerator. Now you take a tablespoon and add that to carbonated water, and it's wonderful to help eliminate or reduce nausea.
That is a wonderful recommendation. I believe it was also dropped in the chat. So if
Yeah.
folks are curious about that, then they can find that in the chat. Um, so through this discussion of making sure balanced diet and things, we've definitely spoken of protein in this presentation. Oh, and I'm also looking at time here. I know we're a little over time, but I hope if you are still able to stay with us, we're going to stay on for certainly a few more minutes to get some questions in. This is also being recorded. So if you've got to leave, we understand, and you can rejoin and see us here after the recording is done. But in regards to balanced diet, we discussed upping the protein, but what about fiber? What is your advice for getting enough fiber? And also, what is the definition of enough?
It's a great question. Um, Fiber is critical in terms of digestive wellness, making sure that everything is running smoothly, right? So, really, we're looking at anywhere from 25 to 40 grams of fiber per day. So, let's just talk about that for a minute. 40 is the high side.
Mhm.
So, if your goal could be 25 grams, and you might have to take a look at your diet for a couple of days to track how much fiber you're eating. But the average piece of fruit is 3 grams of fiber. The average serving of cooked vegetables, which is a half a cup, is 3 or 4 grams of fiber. So you're getting about 3 or 4 grams per serving of fruit and vegetable. Um, a whole cup of lettuce would be a serving size, and that would be, again, about 3 or 4 grams of fiber. So you can see that one of the guidelines would be eating 5 or 6 servings of fruits and vegetables a day.
Okay.
So 5 times 3 is 15, or 5 times 4 is 20. Now you're getting close because remember, meat and dairy and eggs, they don't have fiber. It's really just in whole grains, beans, and fruits and vegetables. So that's where we're getting the fiber. Avocado, great fiber. Nuts and seeds, some fiber. And when we're getting 20, 25 grams of fiber in a day, we're not only detoxifying our body, trying to eliminate some of the medications and treatment,
Mhm.
giving our liver some relief, but also our digestive tract, we're feeling better. We're able to eliminate every single day. Now, one of my tricks of the trade is a smoothie. When you're able
Okay.
to blend together 2 servings of fruit, 2 serving of vegetable. You've got maybe 16 ounces of water and ice. Blend that all together. When you drink it, I love to put it in a mason jar. I just love mason jars. When you put it in a mason jar, now you've got maybe 10 grams of fiber. It's gonna up the ante. It's a great way to help you get over the 25 mark.
Absolutely. It's such a multi-tool with
It is a
making them.
multi-tool. And when you're adding maybe a tablespoon or two of flaxseed in with the smoothie, or you're adding ground flaxseed to oatmeal, to yogurt, uh, it can help.
Great.
But can I tell you this? When you're not used to eating a lot of fiber and you increase, it can cause some digestive distress because what it does when it gets into the colon, the large intestine, it absorbs the liquid. So make sure you're increasing your water, and make sure that you're taking on an increase in fiber slowly over the course of a few days or a week.
That is an excellent addition
Yeah,
because it can be painful,
yeah.
painful otherwise if you overdo it too quickly. We have had some questions in regards to prebiotics and probiotics. You've spoken about both, but can you go over the difference between a prebiotic versus a probiotic? And for example, giving more example of what a prebiotic is in addition to the poppy soda mentioned. Speaking about pre versus pro and some more examples of what a prebiotic is.
So a prebiotic are foods that prepare the probiotic.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
really super simple. And so when we take in, there's a list of prebiotics. They could be greens, artichokes. There's, you know, certain they're mostly fibrous foods. They're mostly, some fibrous vegetables that are going to set up your digestive tract to help break down the probiotics. And so, or the fermented foods. So I don't think you have to worry so much about prebiotics. Um, that example of soda is more of a processed food, right? We don't want to drink that to get our prebiotics in. The only time you're going to drink that is if you want a fun beverage and you're trying to cut back on soda.
Sure.
But when you're eating whole foods, like you're eating salads, some nuts and seeds, you're eating asparagus and artichokes, and you're eating some of these foods, all of those fibrous foods are going to set your system up, set yourself up for success. And so they just work in tandem together.
Yeah, absolutely. That's helpful to know. So much, both of them are pushed so heavily in media and all these sort of things, prebiotics, probiotics. It's interesting to hear the importance of both, but most especially those probiotics as for all of those health benefits that come with taking them.
Well,
In,
and I just want to mention that manufacturers, they know the buzzwords, they know what we're looking for. So they'll put on a processed food package prebiotics. But remember, if it's processed, it's not really for us. Maybe in moderation, just a serving or two here and there. So it's mainly whole foods. It's what our ancestors ate. That's how we're getting those pre and probiotic type foods in. So don't be fooled because they want to trick us.
course, marketers wanting to trick us never. Ever. The last section here, just a few questions, are in regards to hydration. So you spoke about that number of 11 to 15 cups of water a day. To reiterate, yes, that seems daunting, very daunting. So the question came in, does any liquid count as water, or would you need to drink 11 to 15 cups of water in addition to coffee, tea, etc.?
Um, it it actually is accumulative. So we're spring, we're heading into summer, so a lot of hydrating vegetables. That counts. So if you're steaming broccoli or you're eating cucumbers and salad and all of that, that's all hydrating. Remember, a lot of these vegetables are like 80% water. So watermelon, some of these fruits, that's a source. Um, Herb tea, that's a source. So there's a lot of ways we can get extra water in our diet. So we might not need to drink all of that. Again, identifying our height, our weight, our health issues, just starting baseline at 6 glasses a day, six, eight
Okay.
ounce glasses at least, and go from there, and then add in the hydrating foods. Remembering that at least in my experience and my research, that when you have a dehydrating drink like coffee or caffeinated tea, that now you've taken a step backwards. You need to hydrate a little bit more.
Hmm.
Even though you make coffee with water, it's so dehydrating. Coffee and caffeinated tea is so dehydrating that we need to maybe then add a little bit more. Um, what again, we talked about electrolytes. Electrolytes help you actually at a cellular level maintain or hydrate the cells more adequately. So that's why sometimes taking thinking about that as a source, especially if it's super hot outside, if you're hiking, if you're going through treatment, taking in an electrolyte might be helpful. But
Hmm.
also, there was one more point I was going to make about that, and I totally forgot.
Oh, okay. If it comes back to you,
Yeah,
let us
if
know.
it comes back to me, I'll share. But
Um,
not to be overwhelmed by drinking water. But oh, that was the tip I was going to offer is maybe
okay.
when you wake up in the morning, maybe you throw a little bit of lemon in your water. So you start off with glass, then at 10 o'clock you have a glass. It's almost like you don't want to drink a lot of water during your meals, especially if you're nauseous or you don't have a big appetite. You want to drink it on the off times. But if you're able to at the top of the hour, drink 4 to 6 ounces, boom. It's almost like all day long, manage it that way. That's why some of those containers are wonderful, the PBA free containers, because you can
Yeah.
kind of see how much are you drinking. You almost can figure out how much do I need to drink, and then you drink backwards, right?
Yes, actually, you by answering that, you sort of answered a follow-up question in regards to the hydration and just you've spoken about the mason jars, but another way to just keep track is, um, being able to use your own things to sort of track how you're getting that hydration and try to if you're at a starting point of getting those six glasses.
Glasses in. You can even put a timer on your phone and it beeps, and then you know I need to drink 4 or 5 ounces of water. You
Smart.
know, it's about being mindful of how powerful water is, how healing water is. And I do want to mention if we can get away from plastic. It's not possible for everyone, but you can go and maybe buy the bigger jugs of water.
Mhm.
Reverse osmosis water is very healing. But if plastic, we're just killing our environment with plastic, it's not
Mhm.
good for us. So finding other ways to get to take in really healing water.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, reducing our interactions and things with plastic, it really ties into everything else and will help with our health, of course.
Yeah.
Chris, you have been so wonderful. I have one final question for you. What are three takeaways you hope people walk away with from this conversation today?
Well, just thank you for having me, first of all. But three takeaways would be, what do you feel passionate about? What intention do you want to follow through with? Is there an area in your life that you'd like to improve? And that's where you would start and just taking that bullet point and going, okay, what can I do for myself and my family? That would be number one. Number two, I'd have to just go back to the water because it's so important
Mhm.
that we drink. Too many people are drinking sugary beverages, right? Um, and three, I just think about lifestyle choices, not to underestimate the power of walking outside, journaling, praying, meditation. Life is hard. Life can be really super hard for some, for many, and it's important that we just take a step back and self-care, especially for cancer patients and caregivers.
Those are a perfect three.
Perfect three.
Perfect
Perfect three.
three. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, it has been wonderful and so informative.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you again to Christine Rosandich for another excellent installation of Wellness Wednesday's Cancer Fighting Diet series. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. We do know that we went a little over, so if you're with us through the end, we especially appreciate it. If you are catching this on a replay, be sure to write replay in the comments and ask your questions so we can get back to you. We'll be announcing details for our next Wellness Wednesday soon. And if you have any ideas for future topics or speakers, please email us at info@rolfefoundation.org. On behalf of everyone at Rolfe Pancreatic Cancer Foundation, thank you for joining us this afternoon. See you next time.